Hello and welcome to Puppy Steps Training. I'm Brad Phillips and today I have Charlie with me. We are going to be demonstrating all of Charlie's new skills. He's super sweet, he's a great dog, and he's done very well with the training. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull him out of the crate. We're going to demonstrate his manners, his obedience commands. We'll go over crate and house training. We'll finish up with a walk and talk a little bit more specific about his service prep program. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about our 3 secrets to success, and those are consistency, follow through, and management. So if you set yourself up, if you promise that you're going to do these 3 things, you are going to have a fantastic dog. But if you let any of those 3 slide, that's when you get a puppy that wants to take advantage of you. So I call those our 3 secrets to success. But before I do that, first things first is just a general reminder. So even though Charlie has gotten pretty big here, he is still a puppy, which means he's going to test the waters. He's going to see what he can get away with, and he needs to learn who is the leader, and that's what we want you to become. Right now, myself and my other trainers, Charlie associates us with being that leader. Dogs look for a pack leader. So to establish that relationship, you need to start by building that relationship. So as you get him home, spend time getting to know him. Expect him to follow through with his manners, but don't immediately expect him to do these elaborate stays and do some of the more technical sides of training that I'm going to show you. Allow him to adjust and get used to you. This transition period that he's going to go through is very stressful on a puppy. And so the next 2 to 4 weeks, he's just trying to get comfortable and he's trying to learn what your expectations are. So understanding that and understanding that he's a puppy is going to first set you up for success, because you are going to understand his expectations. You're going to understand that we don't want to push him too quickly as he gets home. So we're going to jump into what I call our 3 secrets to success. These are basically the secrets of dog training. If you can take these to heart and master them, you are going to have a phenomenal dog. So dogs need a leader, and leaders are consistent, they follow through, and they manage. That is what he's looking for. And if you can do these 3 things, you are going to have just an amazing dog, and this training that we've done is just going to slide right over and transition really smooth. So when I talk about consistency is both consistently rewarding and correcting. When I reward Charlie, we use the word okay, so that's our marker, which means it marks the correct behavior, tells him that he did it right, and that some type of reward is going to follow. Right now, because Charlie's still a puppy, we're using treats very heavily. That is his currency. That's what motivates him. And so we're going to use that to our advantage. And the more that you use it, the more repetitions you get, the quicker it becomes muscle memory, and he's just going to do it out of respect for you. But you don't always have treats on you. And so if I don't have treats available, I still need to reward my puppy for doing the right thing. And so that's where I'll use toys. If we're playing with him, that toy is a reward. I will also use praise and affection to make sure, once again, that I reinforce the correct behavior. Now, on the other side of things, he's going to make mistakes. He's a puppy. Puppies make mistakes. And he also makes a lot of mistakes because I have high expectations for him. And so I'm always asking him to do more and be better. And so when we're working and maybe I'm pushing a new distraction, or maybe we're out in public, it's a stressful situation, and he breaks a stay, I'm not going to get frustrated. Instead, I'll just say no, and I'll have him do it again. And then I'm going to end on a correct behavior. I always need to end on a correct behavior. That way, once again, you'll hear me say it a lot, I'm teaching him my expectations. Now, if he did something a little bit more serious, like he jumped up on the counter or had an accident, then I might get a little bit more firm, and I might just be like, no, raise my voice, get a little bit more firm, and it's just a quick correction, and then I'm going to reinforce it. If he did something really bad, like he started peeing, then I might go, no, and I might clap or stomp, just something to quickly startle him, get him to stop. I'm going to take him then outside and give him an opportunity to finish going to the bathroom, and then reward that behavior. That way I teach him, it's black and white. I teach him he's not allowed to go here, but yes, you get rewarded for going here. And I'm just making sure that he understands what I expect out of him. Now, if he does an incorrect behavior and maybe he looks at you like, oh, what are you going to do about it? That's where you have to follow through. And that follow through is our second key to success. So a good example of this is, say you're in the kitchen, you're cooking, you look over and Charlie decides he's going to jump on the couch. So our command for that is off, right? Get off the couch. So if I said, Charlie, off, and he jumped down, then I would reward him. I'd say, oh, good boy. He comes over, and maybe as soon as he sits, I'll pet him, I'll reinforce that behavior. But if he got up there, maybe he put 2 paws, and he's like, well, what are you going to do about it? You're across the room. At that point, I will tell him no, and I will walk over and remove him. I'm not going to repeat myself. I'm not going to sit here and go, no, Charlie, off, because then you're just barking at him. Instead, I say it once. I give him an opportunity to think about it and process the information, and then if he doesn't listen, I remove him. If you're sitting down, maybe he comes up and wants attention, and he does the same thing. He puts his paws up and like, hey, pet me. I'm going to tell him off, and I might just pop him back. Just right there in the chest. I'm not going to hit him. I'm not going to shove him across the room. It's just, no, get your paws down. If he sits there and looks at me at that point with all 4 paws on the ground, then maybe I'll pet him. That way I'm reinforcing the behavior that I want repeated. Because what you reinforce gets repeated. Okay? So make sure you follow through. Now, the third key to success is management. Now, I'm going to talk about management throughout the program. Each command and each manner, you have to once again follow through, and then you're going to manage the situation. And so management means I am going to maintain control. If I have control of my puppy, he's not going to go and have an accident because I know what he's doing. He's not going to go get into trouble because I know where he is. And if you can't give him this constant supervision, which needs to happen for the management, put him in the crate. The crate is your best management tool. If he is in the crate, he's not getting into the garbage. He's not having an accident around the corner, and you know what he's doing. Another good form of management is just having him drag around a leash for a little while. That way, if you need to quickly correct him or quickly grab him, you have that means to do so. But if you can maintain control, you're going to stop bad habits from ever forming. So with that, we are going to pull Charlie out of the crate now and show off some of his manners. All right, so the first manner that we are going to demonstrate are his gates and doorways. So anytime Charlie comes through the crate, he goes through a gate outside or a kennel door or a house door, especially a closed house door, I expect him to hold an automatic stay. Now, he's still a puppy, so sometimes he's going to break. We need to teach him that your expectations, once again, are the same as mine. So the first time that you go through a door, don't expect him to just immediately plan himself and wait for you. You have to show him. So in that case, I know that there's a chance that he might break. So if I was letting him out of the crate, I'm not going to just wing this right open, right? Instead, I might open it slowly, make sure he's going to stay, and then proceed. Now, if he tried to break, I might just simply close the door and tell him no. I'm never going to tell him to stay. Same thing if I come over here to this house door. I'm not just going to open it and expect him that he's just going to wait for me. I have to make sure, once again, that he knows that you ask for the same things I do. So the first time I'll have him on a leash, and I might open it and prepare that he might try and sneak through. And if he does, I can bring up my foot and block him, correct him on a leash. A lot of times I'll open it like this so that I'm blocking it, make sure he's going to wait. Then I'll step through and then invite him through. So prepare for that. And that way, if he does try and break, you can quickly give him a correction and then expect that behavior. But also remember that he's still a puppy. And so if your door is wide open and it's been open for 5 minutes and you let him out of the crate and he's roaming your house, he's probably not going to go up to the front door and just wait for you. Instead, if it's wide open, he's just going to go out. So don't just leave doors open and expect that right off the bat, he's going to know that he shouldn't go outside. Hopefully that makes sense. So, okay, good boy, huh? Now, I'm going to put this leash on him and let him drag that around. Maybe if I can find you through all the fluff. All right, so I'll demonstrate the house door as we go outside, but anytime he comes through, expect him to wait. Come here. So I'm going to bring him back in and show you that again. So now if he tried to break, I would just simply close that on him. Okay, good boy. So our next manner is his greeting. So anytime I call Charlie over, or if I've been away for a while and he gets excited to come and see me, I expect him to do this greeting. So our greeting is just him approaching and sitting down. Now this shows me that he's in control and that he's also showing me some respect. So it's a replacement behavior for jumping. He's not going to be jumping on me. It gives him a job. It also gets his eye contact. Once I have his eye contact, I know that I have his focus. And so if I call him over, which I'm going to move him this way, Charlie. So before I give him any attention, I expect this sit. Good boy, good boy, good boy. Now this is especially important when he's hyper, like first thing in the morning, when he's got the zoomies, or right when you come home. If you've been away for a while, he's going to be excited to see you. He's running around. I'm not going to give him any attention until he shows he's in control and he gives me this greeting. Charlie. So if I call him over, I'm just going to wait. Good boy, good boy. Now when you're working on this at home, you're just going to take your leash and you're going to walk backwards and call him to you. So the first time, I'm just going to say, Charlie, and I might ask him to sit. Good boy. As you do that a couple times, then you're going to expect it. So I'll just say, Charlie, come here. And I'll wait for the sit. Okay, good boy, huh? So this way you can practice that. You're also showing him, or you're teaching him how you talk with him, how your rewards are given, and your voice fluctuation. So it's just a really quick way to get some positive repetitions and start getting to know each other. Oh, yeah, that's a good boy. Oh, that's a good boy. Now, if he tried to jump up on me, I'm going to tell him off. So off is our command, whether he's jumping up on the couch or on a person. Now, if he was running at me and I thought, oh man, he's going to jump, the biggest thing that I'm not going to do, or the biggest mistake I see, is stepping back. As soon as I step back, it becomes an invitation. As you can see, we work on that. So I'll tell him, Charlie, come here, and I step back, and I'm inviting him into my space. And so if you step back while he's running full bore at you and you think that he might jump, it's just more like, yeah, come on, let's go. So instead, if he was running at me, I would step into him. So I restrict the space, and a lot of times I'll throw off his timing. And he's big enough, if he tried to jump up on me, I'm going to bring my knee up into him and block him. I don't want to kick him or punt him across the room. Instead, it's just a no, off, and I'm blocking him, and I'm expecting him to do this greeting. So this is especially important with kids, because kids, their first reaction is, oh my gosh, this is running towards me. I should turn and run away. And that turns into a game of chase. And so it's really exciting to Charlie, and he's going to come even faster and want to get to the children even more. So instead, if you can teach them that we don't step back, instead we step in and restrict the space, you're going to show Charlie that he's not allowed to jump on them. You also need to be an advocate for small children as well as an advocate for Charlie. So if you know that, hey, he's wanting to jump up on this member of my family, take a hold of the leash and practice it. Take him, have that person call him over, walk him up, and then if he tries to jump, I say, no, off, and I turn and walk away, and I give him those 2 leash corrections. And then I repeat it. We do it again. And I'll do that until he comes up and he sits and gives them this greeting. But know that this greeting isn't going to happen for every person. Instead, he's going to develop respect for you. And so when I do meet a new person, I want him to do the greeting for me, show that he's in control, I'll pet him, and then the new person can come over and pet him. But the biggest thing that I don't want is him to get excited and think that they're the reward. So he always goes through me, so he's not jumping up on other people. So, oh, good boy. Now, his meals. So anytime we feed Charlie, I expect him to hold a sit stay, and this should be automatic. If I shake his bowl like that, he's just going to sit down, and I don't have to tell him to stay. Instead, I can just step back and set that down. Now, if he broke, then I would take it away and ask him to stay, but this should be another automatic behavior. You can see he's looking to me for permission to eat. Okay, good boy. Now, this is a great way to develop this relationship with him. In like a pack mentality, the leader, or the alpha, always controls the food, what they can eat and when they can eat. And so, once again, feeding him is just going to develop this relationship. Now, I also spend some time just sticking my hands in his food bowl or hand feeding him. Just want to make sure that there's no type of resource guarding or aggression. This isn't something you have to do every time. Like, I don't make it a habit of taking my dog's food to show that I'm superior, but I do want to do it every once in a while to make sure that he doesn't develop any sort of aggression. Oh, good boy. Good boy. Huh. Now, we will talk about his routine and things like that a little bit later on. I just wanted to demonstrate how we feed him and what my expectations are. Oh, good boy. You can see, even though like nope, he's not allowed to jump up and like knock it out of my hand. And so like that, all I had to do is say nope. I didn't have to get really upset at him. And then he goes to being back in control. I want him to show that he can be in control. Good boy. Good boy. Now, along with resource guarding, I don't want him to show I don't want him to show that even with toys or with bones or anything that's his. I want him to feel comfortable with me taking it away. I don't want him to get aggressive, anything like that. So I can play with him, which toys are really great. It's a really great reward. And he's going to try and, there you go. Come here. Take it somewhere to play. Oh, good boy, good boy, good boy. Now I can play with him. We can play tug, but if I ask him to let go of it, I expect him to let go of it. So if I tell him, Charlie, drop it. Good boy. I want him to freely give that up. I don't want to have to try and wrestle it out of his mouth, which I'm never going to. Nope. Zip. Good boy. Now, if we were playing and he refused to let it go, biggest thing is stop playing this with him. As soon as you do this, right, that's tug, we're playing. So if I ask him to let go of it and he doesn't, immediately, nope, we're not pulling it around, it's no longer fun, and a lot of times he'll just give it up. Hey, don't jump up at it. Now, if he had a hold of this and he wasn't letting it go, you can just bring your hand and wrap his lips around his canines. So it's just more uncomfortable. I'm not squeezing down. I'm not causing him any pain. He's just not allowed to take it or pull it away from me. I always win the game. Now, I do want to make a habit of, as soon as he does drop it, giving it right back to him so he doesn't just think that I'm a bully and I'm just taking his stuff away. Come here. Yeah, we're going to be slow. Charlie, drop it. No. So I give him a second, and then I'm going to remove it. So where he didn't listen, I'm going to take it away, and I'm going to make him earn it back. So I'm going to ask him for a sip. Good. Good boy. Okay. I expect him to let go of it when I tell him drop it. He's not allowed to disobey. This is that follow through. Come here. Which he's going to go over and lay down on the rug. Come here. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Huh? Yeah, that's a good boy. Huh? Good boy. Good boy. So I'm going to try this again here. Charlie, drop it. Okay, good boy. So he lets go of it. He makes eye contact with me. And in that case, I was going to take it away. So I gave him a treat in reward. So this goes along with his bully sticks as well, which is a high value reward. Come here. Good. So even with the bully stick, I can ask him, Charlie, drop it. Okay, good boy. Good boy. Good boy. See, I expect him just to spit it out. Now, I can also ask him to spit it out and then give it right back without giving a treat. So I can tell him, Charlie, drop it. Good boy. Good boy. Okay, good boy. But I want him to feel confident and comfortable that I'm not just going to take it away and run off with it. So that's why, like I said, if I was going to take it away for good, I'll replace it. I'll give him a reward, tell him that he's a good boy. Charlie, drop it. Thank you. And so just like that, good boy. Giving him a second, I could tell that he was working it out of his mouth. Yeah, I'll give him that moment. I'm not going to immediately correct him because he was trying to do the right behavior. He was just being a little bit slower. Now, going along with this, with toys, especially with small children, right? Toys are a great barrier, if you will, because kids to a dog, or especially to a puppy, are like the greatest toy in the world. They run, they squeal, and it's just a lot of fun to chase them. But some kids might be a little bit nervous of dogs. And so I make a rule, especially with my small children, that if they're going to play with the puppies, they have to have that toy. So that toy, they can redirect him. He's not going to go for a pant leg or knock a kid over. Instead, he's going to be drawn to the toy. And if you get one that's a little bit nervous, they can throw the toy and direct Charlie away. So great form of redirection. Oh, good boy. Good boy. Now also chewing. So Charlie needs to chew throughout his life. He's also lost most of his teeth, but he's still got quite a few left to lose. And so he is going to be teething very heavily. So we need to give him appropriate things to chew on so that he doesn't go and find things to chew on. So one, boredom causes chewing. So if you do have a downtime where you're just hanging out, just give him a bully stick. He can go lay down and chew on it. That keeps him preoccupied and it keeps him doing something that's appropriate. If he gets up and leaves that, I'm going to immediately take it away. He doesn't just get free access to all of his things, because what's going to happen there is he's going to get bored with that object and he's going to go find something new to chew on. Also, if you see him chewing on something he's not supposed to, I'm going to tell him no, and then I'm going to replace it with something of similar texture. Because especially during this age, they chew based on what they feel like their mouth needs. So if he's over there chewing on a pillow, or if you have a big fluffy bed for him, he's chewing on that, tell him no and give him something like that plush toy. He wants to chew on a table leg, give him something like that bully stick, something hard. Try and match that consistency, and that way you're giving him appropriate things to chew on and what his mouth, or what he feels like his mouth needs. Also know that we've taught him to be gentle with his mouth. Sometimes he needs a lot of reminding for this. That's why you saw a couple times like I pulled that bully stick back. I waited and made sure he was in control. So if he rears up, I'm going to tell him gently. And I don't want to feel any teeth. And so when you give him a treat, do it in the palm of your hand. I like to tuck the treat underneath my thumb, and that way I can tell him gently, and I expect him to be very cautious while giving it. If you give it to him between your thumb and forefinger like this, you're asking him to bite your fingers. But because my kids always seem to want to do that, we teach him to still be very cautious. So I can tell him gently, good boy. Now, if you felt piranha jaws, or he kind of lunged up at that point, I'm going to make sure, one, that I'm not going to get bit, so that's where you pull it back. But then when I tell him gently, I'm going to keep that hand closed and make sure I don't feel any teeth, and then slowly open it. When he puts the teeth away, he gets the treat. Same thing with a toy or a bone. If I have it up here, he jumps up, hits no, gently, then you can have it. Oh, that's a good boy. Good boy, huh? Yes, yes. I believe that is all of our manners. So now we're going to move on to our obedience commands. Now we're going to start with our hand signals. So I'll show you sit, which is just a scoop over the nose. Down, I'll take my hand flat and take him down. And then stay is a stop sign. After we go through that, I will show you his place commands, which are place and crate. Then we will show you leave it, and watch me and come. We will cover when we go on a walk. So first one, sit. I'll just call him over. Charlie, come here. So I can just sit, and it's just closed palm up over his nose. Okay, good boy. Now if I then wanted him to do a stay, come here. I'll ask him sit, stay. And we can just throw in some simple distractions. Ooh, we'll see. Good. So even that, rolled right to his feet, but he still held that stay. I'll take that. That was a good distraction too. Okay, good boy. Okay, releases it. You'll notice that, once again, everything is one and done. I didn't ask him multiple times. I didn't tell him, stay, stay, stay. Instead, I ask him once, and then I expect him to do it. So I'm going to do another one where I'm going to put his back to the wall. I'll show you down with it. Come here. So I'm going to turn him around. I'll ask him to sit first. Down. Down. So you'll notice he keeps coming towards my hand because he wants the treat that's in there. I'm going to remove the treat. Down. And I'll take him a little further. Stay. Just trying to add some distractions here that you can actually see. Okay, good boy. Good boy. I know that seems simple, but that is a lot, walking back and forth. He has really, really great stays, in which we'll talk about some of those a little bit later on with your service prep. But you will notice where he was being a little funky with the down. So 90% of the time, I just have to tell him down, and I'm here. But today, there we go. Okay, good boy. He keeps wanting to come to my hand and see if the treat's in there. So just like that, I can tell him, like it doesn't have to be such a big correction, but then I'm just going to expect him to do it. But if I told him down and he doesn't, I'm once again not going to repeat myself. Instead, I'm just going to adjust my body language. Good boy. And help him succeed. Once again, we're always trying to improve on what we've taught him. So he's going to break. He's going to make mistakes. That's fine. But what I don't want him is getting to the point where he's frustrated or I'm frustrated. As soon as that happens, we just need to end. We need to end on a little simple behavior, tell him he's a good boy, and then be done. So say you're working with him and he breaks 2 times in a row. At that point, I'm just going to tell him no and keep going. But as soon as he hits that 3rd time, as soon as he breaks 3 times in a row, that means I'm doing something that's a little too hard, or there's an internal, external factor that is causing him to break. And so I might just need to reset. At that point, I just want to keep it simple and I want to get a positive repetition. So say we were doing downstays and he kept breaking at like 25 seconds, because right now he's doing well over 30. If he did it 3 times in a row, I'm going to do like a 3-second stay. So I might tell him, Charlie, stay, take a couple steps back. Okay, good boy. Just get a quick reset behavior, and then I can do it again. Sit, down, stay, and then the next time I might do a 10-second, and then a 15, and then a 25, and I'm just going to rebuild it up. That way I don't let him get frustrated and he doesn't end on an incorrect behavior. Now this is the hard one right here. Good. You can also notice that I can tell him good. That's like, hey, you're doing the right thing, keep doing it. Whereas that marker word ends the behavior. Okay, good boy, good boy. So, now we'll do our place command. So once again, we have 2 of them. We have an actual place command, but then we also have a crate command, which is very similar. So I can tell him, Charlie, found some smashed treats right here. Charlie, go, place. So he's staring at the treat, so I'm just going to adjust my body language. I was giving off some different vibes, so I'm going to reset that one. Okay, good boy, good boy. So now where he's kind of focused, I'm going to hide one hand, place, and then I send him there. So when he goes onto his bed or onto wherever your place command is, which it can be almost any object that has defined borders. So in this situation, it's his raised bed. I can also send him onto a rug. I don't care what position he's in, as long as all 4 paws are on that object. And then he is expected to stay until released. I don't have to tell him to stay. It should be an automatic behavior. Now on a raised platform, like a bed like this, he can stay for a few minutes. Like that's really, really good for a puppy, but also don't be satisfied with it. You can increase that to be, an hour or two. Like, it just takes some consistency and gradually building it up. Practice with it. Now, if he tried to step off, I would just say, and I might step into him. A lot of times he'll get back on. But if he came fully off, I'd tell him no, and then I would take him back on. This time, not giving him a reward. So when he goes on, I give him the treat when he's on, not when he comes off. Okay, good boy. So you'll notice I can tell him, place. Good boy. Now, we've also been building the distance between us and the platform. But the first couple times, you're going to want to be close and make sure that you orient your body language to that bed. Okay, good boy. Good boy. So very similar with the crate command. I can just tell him crate and expect him to go in. I will give him the treat when he goes in, not when he comes out. Same thing though, expected stay. Okay, good boy. Crate. Now if he froze, I might just tap on the top. Same thing though, he needs to be able to read my body language. Okay, good boy. Now this is a command that you want to practice a lot, because if you only use it when you're going to lock him up, he's going to understand that, and then he's not going to want to go in because he associates it with either you leaving or him just being locked up. So instead, I practice this command a lot. Depending on where your crate is, like mine's in my laundry room, and so if we're down there doing laundry, I'll just send my dogs in and out a few times to get a reward. That way it stays positive, and I keep the integrity of that command. Okay, good boy, good boy. Come on. Now, if he did hesitate and you tapped on the top and he still wouldn't go in, good boy, you can just kind of stick your hand in here, maybe tap. Last resort would be throwing a treat in there to lure him. Okay, good boy. I didn't put you in there. Good boy, come here. Now, if he put himself in there, like you guys are all sitting down and he just goes and gets in his crate or gets on his bed, he doesn't have to stay there. He's free to get up and go when he wants. Good boy, huh? Good boy. And we'll talk about the actual crate training here in a minute. But now we're going to talk about leave it. So I've been dropping treats on the ground, letting him eat them. Now I'm going to drop one on the ground and ask him to leave it. So I'm going to pull out a high value reward, some cheese and hot dogs. Right here. Good boy. And I'm going to take a hold of his leash because, once again, this one's hard, just the way that I've set it up, because I've been allowing him to eat the treats. So I'm going to pull him over here. Come here. So I'm going to drop this treat on the ground. Good boy. Okay. So I'm going to, come here. Leave it. Nope, leave it. So you'll notice where he still kind of went for it, I give him a little leash pressure up. Okay, good boy. Oh, you missed it. Right here. So we're just going to practice this. We're going to walk past it. Charlie. Good. I want him to leave this treat behind. Now, if he went for it again, I could just say, leave it. So this is our one exception where I will repeat that command, where I'm having him stay in the area. Now, if you were in your house and say you spilled something while cooking, good boy, one that could be harmful to him, I would tell him leave it, and then I'm going to get him out of the room. Or if I'm on a walk and there's something that I don't want him to have, I'll tell him leave it, and then okay, good boy. Leave it. Good, come here. So we're going to try that again because he's wanting to grab it. Good boy, that's what I want. So leave it is for a situation where I can either remove him or remove the object. Now, where he's being a little bit sticky with it, this is something that now I'm going to say, okay, today, for some reason, it's a little hard. Let's practice it, right? So with all of dog training, it's not always just a steady progression up. There's a lot of hills and valleys. And so as long as you understand that, and you understand, like, he's going to be different depending on the day, especially with this, the other day we'd pile the treats up and I could have him walking around and had no problem. Today, one treat, he's like, oh, I've been eating those, I'm going to go and get it. So we're going to make sure that we build upon it. I hope that makes sense. Stays are a really, really good example, because some days we can do basically a minute down stay, and then the next day all of a sudden at 20 seconds he's like, all right, I'm done. And just understanding that that's normal. Every dog is different, but we're going to make sure that we always end on a correct behavior and that we're setting him up to succeed. We always train to success, not to failure. And that's going to be especially important as you want him for a service dog, making sure that you build his confidence and train to success. So with that, I'm going to give him a little bit of a break and just let him chew on this bully stick while we talk about crate training. So with the crate training, we spent a lot of time making sure that he's comfortable in the crate and that it's a positive experience. He does very, very well in there. We haven't had any vocal outbursts for quite a while, nor has he had an accident in a long time. He is sleeping through the night easily. Right now we put him to bed at 10 and get him up at 6. He's also good to spend 4 or 5 hours there, 4 or 5 hour blocks during the day. So if you need to run errands or anything like that, you can put him away and don't have to worry about him. So big thing with the crate training, once again, he's not allowed to have accidents. He's not allowed to get vocal. When you take him home though, he's going to be under a lot of stress because of this transition. So stress, one, causes a dog to have to go to the bathroom very frequently. So the first night, it's not a bad idea just to set an alarm and get him out at like 2 a.m. That way we don't push him into having an accident. It's not to say that he's for sure going to need to go, but giving him that opportunity just once again sets you up so that you don't push him to failure. After the first night, I wouldn't worry about it. He should go back to sleeping 8 hours, no problem. The other thing is if he gets vocal, so the first time you put him in the crate, he's stressed out, you're his source of comfort, and then you're like, okay, time to go in the crate, and he might, give you a little bit of a fit because he doesn't want to be in there. He wants to be with you, and he doesn't know your expectations. So the worst thing you could do is if you put him in the crate and he starts crying, do not let him out. That is the worst thing you can do, because that teaches him that if he does throw a little fit, you're going to come to his rescue and let him out. So instead, I'm going to ignore it. The second worst thing you could do is come over and be like, oh, it's okay, I'll let you out in a minute, and you put your fingers through the grate, because that's once again teaching him, oh, well, if I throw a little fit, they're going to come and console me. So we don't want to coddle him. Instead, I'm just going to ignore it. It'll die off in just a couple minutes, if that. If he carried on, I'd just cover the crate, cover it with a big blanket or a cover, because dogs are a lot like parrots that if they can't see what's going on, they're just going to quiet down. I don't imagine he's going to throw a huge fit, and that should work just fine, but just ignore him and he'll be great. Let's see. Also make sure that when you crate him during the day, you crate him when you're home as well as when you're gone. Don't just put him away when you leave, because you can create separation anxiety. Sometimes if you need to cook dinner, put him in the crate. You need to go get ready, put him in the crate. You can put him in there for 10 minutes, for an hour, for 30 minutes, 4 hours. Just make it variable. Dogs do very, very well with routines. The only downfall sometimes you see is if you're gone from noon to 4 every single day, and then one day you're late and you don't get home till 4:30. Your dog sometimes adjusts and gets to the point where he expects to be let out at 4, and then he starts crying because you're late. Same thing when I do get home, I don't want to immediately go and let him out. I don't want to create these expectations, because then you're going to get a dog, as soon as you walk in the door, they get real riled up and maybe start whining or barking. So instead, every once in a while, if I do have that routine, I get home at 4, I'll go and get a drink, or I'll run to the bathroom before I let him out. Sometimes I'll let him out immediately when I get home. But if you can keep it a little bit variable, they're not going to try and predict when they're going to be let out and start getting vocal. But he does super well in the crate, so I don't imagine you'll have any issues. But with all of this, if you do have questions, don't hesitate to give me a call. Please let me know. I want to help you. I want to make sure that you have a good transition and a smooth transition. Also, with him going to bed at 10, I take away his food at 6. So I feed him between 5:30 and 6 every single night. That way he has a good 4 hours to clear his system before he goes to bed. I also make sure that I take away water by 8, same reason, so he can clear his system. So we do feed him twice a day. We feed him at 6:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. The morning, you can change that routine a little bit, but just know for the first little while, his internal alarm is going to be going off and be like, hey, get me out. It's time to eat. It's time to go to the bathroom. But I do try and stick to that evening schedule as close as possible so that he does have an opportunity to clear everything out before going in the crate. Also to note, if you are going to put him in the crate, especially during the day, make sure that he has an opportunity to go to the bathroom, but then also he has an opportunity to run and tire himself out. You don't want to put a super energetic dog that hasn't had an opportunity to run back in the crate, because they just have all this built up energy. So I believe that's everything with that. Now we're going to talk about the house training. So with the house training, Charlie's been doing awesome. He has full access here. I have complete confidence that he is going to go and ring the bells. I know that he knows that that means to go outside to go to the bathroom, and he does have his specific area. But now, once again, you're taking him from a familiar environment and putting him in an unfamiliar environment. So you need to teach him that your expectations are the same. You need to teach him where the bells are, where he's allowed to go to the bathroom. So the first couple weeks are a little bit of an inconvenience, but if you will follow my instructions, you won't have any issues. So the first thing you're going to do, as soon as you get home, before he goes inside of your house, you're going to take him to the bathroom. Give him that opportunity to go. As soon as he goes, I tell him, okay, good outside, good boy, and I praise him, right? So that'll also give you a little bit of time that you can come inside and breathe. But the first thing you're going to do with Charlie is you're going to target the bells, which targeting the bells is I'm just going to have him ring them a few times and get him excited about ringing them, which I'm going to demonstrate that in just 1 second. Once you target the bells, then you're going to set a timer, and you are going to take Charlie to the bells every 30 minutes. The exception here is if he's passed out of sleep, I'm not going to wake him up, or if he's in the crate, you don't need to take him out every 30 minutes. But this is just for the first 24 hours. So the first 24 hours, you take him to the bells, we go outside, give him an opportunity to go, come back in. Now, he is not going to need to go every time, but this is just to establish a pattern and teach him where the bells are, where he's allowed to go. So if you take him out and he doesn't go, then I'll just bring him back in. It's a neutral experience. I'm not going to reward nor correct. Now, if it's been like 2 hours and he still hasn't gone, you're like, I feel like you need to go. At that point, I would put him in the crate for a little while so that we don't push him to having an accident. Which, there for a second, I thought he was going to walk over there and ring him. Oh, good boy. Now, after the first 24 hours, the next 24 hours, you're going to take him every 45 minutes. And each time you take him out, you give him a treat for ringing the bells. You give him about 2 minutes to pee or to poop. On day 3, you're going to go to an hour. So every hour, you're taking him to the bells. And at that point, I am no longer going to give him a treat for ringing the bells. The reward comes when he goes. So I would stay at an hour for a few days. That way, we're just allowing his bowels and his insides just to get back to normal. After about a week, then you can start to push him to 2 hours, which 2 hours is our standard. I know that Charlie can go a lot longer than that, but I don't want to push him too fast. So I would wait a month before I start stretching him past 2 hours. Once again, we're just making sure that he has an opportunity to establish a pattern and a routine at your house. Now, I'm a very paranoid person being a dog trainer, which is not a bad thing. So I would encourage you to be paranoid. If you see him get up off of the bed and he starts sniffing really heavily, or maybe he's panting a little bit, pacing back and forth, I'm just going to say, you know what? Let's just go to the bells. Maybe you got to go to the bathroom. I would rather give him that opportunity and go outside and have him not pee than I would give him too much freedom and he have an accident on the floor. So with that, we're going to take him to the bells. And, well, actually, I'm going to show you how to target them, and we'll show you this whole process. All right. So the first time we do this, when you bring him home, you're going to step on the leash, and I'm going to hold the bells. I'm just going to have him ring them just to get a reward. So I'm just going to hang him down here by his face. I'm not going to hit him with it. I'm just going to stand here and stare at the bells and wait. Sometimes this takes a second. And if he's just going to stare at my treat pouch, I'm going to direct it away. But you'll notice I'm not hitting him with the bells. I'm just waiting. So we haven't done this in quite a while because after you do this once, you'll just hang him on the door, and that's what we've done. Okay. So you notice now that he hit it once, he's like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. And then he realizes it gets him a treat or a reward. Okay, good dog. One more time here. Okay, good boy. So after he wrings him out of my hand a few times, now I'm going to take him over to the door, and this is where they're going to stay. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to, okay, outside, good boy. Just going to stare at the bells and let him ring them. Okay, outside. You'll also notice I'm emphasizing, okay, outside, the word outside. Okay, outside. So now I'm going to take him out. I expect him to wait at the door. If he tried, nope. So there where he tried to actually step out, just a simple correction. I just expect him to show that he's in control. Okay. Outside. Okay, good outside, good boy. Okay. So when I take him out, I give him maybe a minute or two, periodically saying outside. When he goes, I tell him, okay, good outside, good boy. All right? Heavy praise every time he goes to the bathroom for the next couple weeks. We want to really make sure that's positive. So if I were doing this at your home, even though he just went, I would turn around, have him ring the bells a couple more times, go out one more time. That way I get a couple quick repetitions, and then every 30 minutes, I'm going to take him over, I'm going to stand here, stare at the bells, let him ring it, take him outside. So once again, follow that, day 1, 30 minutes, day 2, 45, day 3, an hour, stay at an hour for a week, build it up to 2 hours. Once again, if you have any questions about that, please let me know. Now, biggest thing here, 100% supervision. Charlie does not get free access to your house. Freedom is earned. It is not a right. It is not, it's not just this privilege that he gets because he went through training. He earns it when he shows you that he can be trusted and he's earned your respect. So I don't tether him like Haley talks about in the videos. I would rather block off part of your house and make it so that he's always with me. I'm watching him like Hawkeye and giving him plenty of opportunities to go. Once again, you can be paranoid. I would rather give him too many opportunities to go than not enough and having him have an accident. If he does have an accident, so say he sneaks around the corner, you find it 5 minutes later or even an hour later, you can do nothing at that point. The moment has passed. He doesn't know what you're correcting him for, and it's in reality, it's our fault as the owner. We weren't watching him good enough. If he has an opportunity to have an accident that you find later, he was not being managed. If he's going to have an accident, I want it right in front of me. And once again, that's the scariest I get. If he started to pee, no, and I'm just going to grab him, run him outside. We immediately go outside. I don't just kick him out, I take him out and I go with him. So he gets corrected for peeing here. We give him the opportunity to finish outside. He gets rewarded there. So that way we can make it black and white. Once again, if you have any questions, please let me know. But I think that covers it for our house training. On one note, though, we talked about how we feed him, twice a day. With water, I would also restrict his water access. Because he's going to be stressed out, he's going to go to the bathroom more frequently, so we don't want to add fuel to the fire. I would still make sure he has plenty of opportunities to get a drink, so feed or give him water with meals and a couple times throughout the day. But I would not give him full access to water until he shows that, you know, he's adjusting. So now we're going to talk about his leash work and his recall with that. So we take our dogs on two different types of walks, the first being an off-leash or a long lead walk, and the second being an attention walk. So when we do this long lead walk, make sure that you start with a long lead. Don't let him off leash until you know that he is going to come to you every time he is called. This recall command, which is our come command, is the most important command that you have. So you need to practice it a lot. And we are very, very strict with this command. So the command is, I'll say his name, I'll say, Charlie, come. And I'm going to be really really loud and inviting when I say that. So I'm going to set him up here. So use the long lead, practice this, go on a walk, go outside and play, but put this long lead on and give him some freedom to run. And then every minute or two, call him to come. So I'm going to bring him over here, try and stay still within the camera. Charlie. So here, I'll even toss him a treat there. So when I call him, I'll say, Charlie, come! And the expectation, good boy, okay, is that he comes to me. As soon as he turns and starts coming, I'll be like, good boy, good boy. And as soon as he gets to me, then I say, okay, good boy, and I give him a treat, right? So practice, practice, practice. This is something you can even just take your kids and everybody goes outside and stands in a circle and plays a fun game of calling Charlie to come. But we want to practice this command. We also want to make sure that we follow through. So when he's on the long lead, if I called him and he hesitated, I'm going to reel him in. So I'm going to, pull him in like a fish. So I'd say, Charlie, come. If he ignored me, pop, we're reeling in. And that way I'm reinforcing this behavior. He needs to understand that he does not get away with ignoring the come command. Good boy. So along with this, do not use this command inside the house because you have control. He can't run and go open the door and escape from you. So instead, if he's inside and I want him to come here, I'll say just that. I'll say, Charlie, come here. Kissy noises, claps, snaps, good boy. Something like that. It's an informal command. All right? But when I'm outside, I'm going to practice it. And when you practice it, have a way to enforce it. Now, if he starts doing really, really well, you start to let him off leash, and then he fails. If he looks at you and was like, maybe not, then we're going to revert back to the long lead. I still practice long lead exercises or recall commands with my adult dogs. This is a command that is never finished. You are always practicing it because you don't know what type of distractions might come. Now, if he does ignore you, say he's off leash, and you call him to you, and he looks at you and says, maybe not. At that point, you're not going to repeat yourself. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to walk and go and get him. I'm not going to run after him. I'm going to walk. Now, a lot of times with our dogs, as they're in training, they see you start to march towards them. They're like, oh, my bad, and they come running up to you. And at that point, as soon as they start running up to me, I'm, okay, good boy. I'm going to reward them. Even if I go 90% of the way there and the last 10, they come to me, I'm going to reward them. If I go 100% of the way there, I will go and I will say no. I will say no, and I will hook the leash on, and we will practice recall commands. The biggest mistake you can make, though, is getting mad at your dog, and then you call them to come, and when they get to you, you reprimand them. That is the quickest way to teach a dog not to come to you. So, once again, with the come command, just really practice, reinforce it, and have fun with it. This is a time where you and your dog can go for a walk and they can be a dog. They can run around and sniff and play, and every minute or two, I call them just to give them a treat and let them go again. And that's a good point. I will call them 9 times out of 10 just to give them a reward and let them go again. I will only call them once out of 10 times to end the fun. So we leave the park, we put a leash on, we go home, something that could be slightly negative. But your long lead walk, as you increase, or as trust increases, that can go to a long lead walk, and which, if you want a dog that wants to be a hiking companion, you're going to take them off leash quite a bit, I would look into e-collar conditioning them. So now with our attention walk, so I was going to do this outside, but we have a snowstorm coming in and it is blowing about, I don't know, probably 50 miles an hour. So he is not going to want to walk outside. So we're going to do that in here. As I demonstrate that, I'm going to readjust the camera so we can get a little bit more room. But in preparation for that, so we have the attention walk, which is where I want him by my side, focusing on me. He doesn't have to stare at me the whole time, but he needs to continue to check in. He has to be walking by my side with no pulling. That's our attention walk. When we start that, I tell him, let's go, and we walk. I will tell him easy if he starts to pull and accompany that with those 2 pops. Also, when I stop, he is expected to come into a sit. Now, as we demonstrate this, I'll also show you what engagement is. Engagement is a very useful tool, especially on walks and anytime you encounter a new heavy distraction. So give me 1 second and I'll readjust the camera. Come here. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. Okay. So when I start this walk, I like to get their attention, so I'll get them in a sit. Good boy. And then for that attention walk, I'm just going to say, let's go. I expect him to stay on my left side. That's just the side that I always have him on. I'm right-handed, so it's easier to treat. But he's not allowed to cross sides. So I can just tell him, let's go. So you'll notice he's by my side, he's not pulling. He's periodically looking up at me. And when he does look at me, I'm going to reward him. Okay, good boy. And you notice, like, I can quicken the pace, and he should follow. Let's go. I can slow the pace down, and he will follow. When I stop, I expect him to stop and sit down, so that way he's planted. Good boy, good boy. Now, if he started to pull, I tell him easy, pop, pop, and I usually just take a step back, so that way I bring him back to my attention. Now, an attention walk, that's a big strain with their mental capacity. And so if you're not in a really crowded place or somewhere where you need his attention, switch between that and a loose leash walk. So a loose leash walk, he gets a little bit more freedom. He doesn't have to stare at me. It can be more leisurely and he can sniff. He's still not allowed to pull. I differentiate between these two by using the word let's go. Let's go means focus on me, we're working. Where as soon as I switch to an off-leash walk, you can just say okay and then just kind of let him branch out a little bit more, give him that little bit more of the leash. You'll notice when I walk him in an attention walk, I wrap that leash up. I don't wrap it around my hand, I just do a big loop because I want it close. I want quick corrections. I want him to receive the information that I am trying to tell him. I still want it loose though. I don't want it tight against his throat because then I'm putting a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety through the leash. He can feel that. So I want it loose, I want it comfortable, and I still want him focused on me. Now, the first couple times that you walk him, focus on it being positive. So I just walk him in front of your house back and forth, and every time he looks at you, just, okay, good boy, okay, good boy. So that way we're getting a lot of positive repetitions, and he's learning to trust you. He's gonna be under some stress, and a stressed out dog gets reactive, and we don't want him to get overreactive. So I want to avoid walking him in high stress situations early on. So if you can pick somewhere where that has the least amount of people, that's the best. Also, even as he gets older, carry treats because you never know what's going to happen on a walk. You don't know if there's going to be a distraction. You don't know if there's going to be another dog that comes running out or a jogger or just something that's going to cause him to be reactive. The other thing is when they do get reactive or when a new distraction comes, this is when I really focus on engagement. And so engagement is just that, him engaging with me. So if a jogger was coming towards us, I would just move to the side of the trail. I would just, come here. I'm going to put my back towards the distraction, get him in a sit, and then I'm going to engage with him. So when I engage with him, it's just, okay, good boy. Okay, good boy, good boy. Yeah, who's a good boy? Give him treats, pet him, I'm in his face. And so that way it's overly rewarding, and he's going to focus less on that distraction. He's going to be more focused on me. I'm the reward when a distraction happens. If he needs to look at something, not look at something, if he's going to get reactive towards something, I'm going to put myself between him, and I'm going to make it so it's like, look, trust me. I'm the boss. You don't have to worry about that. I'm going to protect you. I'm your advocate. So focus on that, especially when you're in new and uncomfortable situations. Engage with him. That'll also teach him, especially when people are coming up, that if he wants to see this distraction, he wants to see this new person, he has to first focus on you. So hopefully that makes sense. So now just briefly, I want to talk about his service prep. So a lot of what we've done, the service prep is just higher levels of obedience. Easy. Actually, before I do that, I want to point out real quick. Notice there's a treat on the ground there, and he just started hitting the end of the leash. So even that, he's not allowed to pull that little bit. And that's a common mistake you see with people, is they're just right in this area, but we allow them to have a tight leash. He's not allowed to have a tight leash. As soon as he gets tight and he's like, oh, I can dictate where we go. Where in reality, we don't want that. We want him to know that I'm in charge. I will show us where we're going. I will lead the way. You are not allowed to pull, even if it's in the slightest, to get that treat that's 3 feet away. So anyway, sorry. Going back to that service prep. So all of this obedience, the walking, the manners, with the service prep, we've just put them to a higher level or a higher standard of what I expect my normal dogs to do. My regular program, downstay, we expect them to reach 20 seconds. He is well past that. He is doing 30 to 40 seconds with very heavy distractions. We've also worked with meeting new people in stores, keeping control, not getting overly anxious. And so he's doing really, really well. The other thing is loading in and out of a car, which hopefully I'll be able to go and record that in a little bit. I don't dare open a car door right now and have it slam on him. So, but don't be content. Don't be satisfied with where he's at. Improve. He can do so much more. But take your time. Allow him to adjust to you. Gain that respect. Gain that relationship. And then gradually build him up. He is a super good dog. He's very smart. And I think you guys are going to love him. And once again, if you have any questions with any of this, please feel free to give me a call or text me. Either way works. But I look forward to sending Charlie to you, and hope you guys love him as much as we do. And thank you. We appreciate it. Bye.